You're listening to the Matt Ramage Show, presented by Quick Trip. What is up, everybody? All right, how are we doing today? All right, first of all, I gotta talk about what we're gonna do today. I got my buddy from PackageHistory.com. We're gonna talk about the Vince Lombardi era, but first, I want to talk about some topics. You know, the NFL added an extra game to the season. There's some stuff going on that we're gonna talk about real quick before we get into this whole the history part of it. But first of all, this podcast, this show, everything is brought to you by the fine folks at Quick Trip. And I want to talk to you about them just for a quick second here. Everyone talks about their root beer milk coming back April 1st. And no, that is not a joke. I've never had the root beer milk, but I'm definitely going to be trying to check that out. And I'm probably going to try it like for the first time live on the show, because root beer milk, like I know a lot of people that have had it. A lot of people like I know that like love it and they're all jacked up. It's coming back, and but I never tried it, so I'm gonna try it probably live on the show. Let you know what's going on. The bacon and eggs and butter sale, $1.99 for bacon, eggs, and butter. I think that's probably separately. You know, that'd be a crazy ass good deal otherwise. But shout out to Quick Trip sponsoring the show, sponsoring what's going on. Let's get right into this. So let me bring in my buddy Daniel Zillmer. And what is up, man? Let me change his background real quick. Oh, I'm failing right here. I'm failing. Boy. All right, but so what is going on, my man? How's it going?
Not too much. How are you doing?
I am good, man. I'm good. But we're gonna get right into this, because I think the Vince Lombardi part of the whole history is like the most fun part to talk about, probably in the history of the Packers. But we got some stuff. We got some comments coming in here too. What is up? All right. What is up, Bray? Bray. Mark's in the house. I don't think Mark ever misses a show. Appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone who's tuning in right now. All right. I got some tweets I want to throw up here up here on the screen, and so we can talk about this stuff, because the NFL has added a 17th game. And I know a lot of people got mad at me because like I was like backing up the players a little bit, and I wasn't saying I don't like a 17th game. Like, I'm not sure that it benefits the NFL a whole bunch. I think they get a lot, besides like they get a whole bunch of money. But my point on what I said the other day, because a lot of people got mad at me. Some people unfollowed me. I'm unfollowing you. But I was just saying, like, the players are employees. I think they have a right to voice their opinion on it. Like, I don't really have an opinion. I'm a fan. I get an extra game of the season, so I'm good with it. I was just saying, like, a lot of players were coming out and saying that they weren't big fans of it or whatever, and you know, I just think that that's the right. But anyways, I don't want to get into all that. I just wanted to say that. All right, so here we go from Adam Schefter. Roger Goodell said that he plans to welcome back fans in 2021. We want to see every one of our fans back. Goodell said we expect to have full stadiums in the coming season. That's from Adam Schefter. And I don't think it's really up to Roger Goodell, but I think that they envision that next season, everything, I don't want to be back to normal, but like it'll be somewhat back to normal. I'm not going to get into, I'm not a scientist, or I'm not anyone that knows anything about anything, but hopefully by that time, you know, September, August, whatever, when the stadiums start getting full again, everything is good and we can go out and we can be amongst people again, you know. And dude, I want to get back to Lambeau Field. Do you get to Lambeau Field often?
No, I wish. Yeah, just here and there. I have a sister that lives there. I'm a transplant, so I was born in Wisconsin, but I'm currently in Pittsburgh, and yeah, so it's quite a trek. But yeah, my sister and her family live in Ashwaubenon, right there, not right next to the stadium, but you know, right down the street. And yeah, I'm itching to go though. It's gonna be hard not to go this year.
Dude, I'm definitely gonna go. The last season was 2019. I went 4 games and they were 4-0, and so I think that the Packers should probably have me go to every game that there is. But and then we got a tweet here from Aaron Nagler, because talking about the 17th game. And they're going to be playing in London. I think they're going to like rotate all the teams through that. So the Packers eventually are going to play in London. But Aaron Nagler says Murphy mentions that both Munich and Berlin are possible spots for future NFL regular season games. Like, I think the NFL is just like they're just geared up. Like they want to go everywhere. They want to make football international sport. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen, but there are fans across the world. Obviously, I know Packer fans like in every country. I don't know them personally, but like they comment and they say something to me. So I know that the NFL as a brand like reaches everywhere, but like I don't like eventually are they going to have teams over there? Like I don't know, but like they're definitely trying. But like Lily says here, Murphy also mentioned that the Packers won't be playing internationally this upcoming season, which I think most people know they're not going to be playing any international games this season. But it's going to happen because the Packers have been putting it off. Like I think every team in the NFL has, but the Packers
they're the last,
I think their stance is that we sell out every home game plus some. Like we got people sneaking in. That's how many people want to come to this games. So like we don't want to lose it. It's big for Green Bay, it's small market, all the bars, all the restaurants, the hotels. Green Bay, that area lives off the Packers playing home games. So taking one away. But now they add that game. So now they're like, oh, you're not missing a game. We're just gonna put an extra game on. Maybe that's their thinking. So, what are your thoughts about adding an extra game? I'll shut up and let you talk.
I hate it, but we've known for years it's going to happen. So it's like anything else. It's just depressing because you know that 17 is not the end. You know that if they're not going to leave it at 17, that's ridiculous. So 18 is what's coming. You know what I mean?
Just set it up.
You absolutely know that 18 games is the inevitable future. So. I don't like it, especially for a league that's so serious about player safety. And now they're like, hey, go out and play an extra game. But what are you going to do? It's more football, like you said. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like I actually don't think football-wise it benefits like the sport because like it's already like 8-8 teams are getting into the playoffs. So like I think even a 7-9, I think a couple 7-9 teams made the playoffs. I don't think a ton, but within the last 5-10 years.
I think the Seahawks did it.
Yeah, the Seahawks did it that year. That was the year that Beast Mode did that thing. I wasn't that against the Saints when he ran for like ever.
It was an earthquake.
Yeah. So like I don't know. But like I get it. They want to make money. I guess the players are making more money because there's like a revenue share thing that they got going. I was reading on Twitter. So like I don't know the details of like the money things, but I think that the players are making more money. Some players like it, I'm sure. They haven't spoke out, but some players don't. They definitely spoke out. But yeah, let's see what Mark has to say. Dude, I am gonna be that guy. It's my birthday. Drink a beer for me. Yo, I'm drinking, Mark. All right, I got the spotted cow for you. All right, happy birthday to Mark. And now we're gonna get into this Lombardi stuff. All right, where did we leave off last week?
So basically, we got to Don Hutson's career. You know, that's kind of where we left off. Just kind of his dominance, how he changed the game. So if we want to get into the Lombardi era, how the Lombardi Packers came to be, I think that's right where you start.
Yeah, but I want to ask you one thing. I don't mean to cut you off.
Sure.
First of all, appreciate you taking the time to do this because like I don't know this stuff. And I think a lot of people do like know the basics. Like me, I know the basics of like all that. I went to Green Bay East High School, like I mentioned, and people talked about it. But like I was a kid, I really didn't care as much as I should have while I was there. But so I appreciate taking time to be because you have a lot of knowledge. But like I had a few comments last week, people talking about like how did it take form of the Packers not having an owner? Because I'm assuming did a lot of teams start the same way the Packers did? But then they just got an owner eventually, or would a guy like Curly Lambeau, who founded the team, been that owner and then sold it, and then that's how the ownership of other teams started, but he just didn't do that.
Yeah, that's basically how it was. It was like a toss-up. Like the Bears, for example, Hallis was basically no different than Lambeau, but he just like stuck his flag down of like I'm the owner. Like he just and he was the sole proprietor. And it just kind of evolved from there. And every team, once you get out of the 20s, was funded by someone, some family, someone put up money, so they're the owner. But yeah, those first teams, it was just kind of like sandlot football, and whoever was there, eventually became the owner, when they had to start, putting up money for traveling and, equipment and stuff. But yeah, most of them, it was just kind of happenstance. It just kind of happened. Like it wasn't like a planned thing for the league or anything.
So, like, I always heard this story because the Packers played at Green Bay East High School, which was called City Stadium, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So someone fell off the bleachers there. I know a lot of this stuff is like oddball stuff that we kind of glossed over because we didn't talk about everything. So they sued him.
Yeah.
So how did that like go down? Because is that that's not when the Bears helped him. The Bears helped him later. Like when the Bears helped the Packers, was it more like Lombardi time?
It was getting close to, it was getting really close to that. And there's some disputed thoughts on how much the Bears actually helped. But yeah, Hallis literally came up to Green Bay and lobbied the people to publicly fund the stadium because the team they didn't have the money to do it, to build Lambeau Field or to build New City Stadium, which would become Lambeau Field. So yeah, he straight up came up to Green Bay and said, this is important. You guys need to, back this idea and keep the team because the team was going to move or fold, So.
Yeah. So yeah, because that was it. Because like I hate the Bears. I talk about it quite often. I sing, I dance around. I hate the Bears, but everyone always talking. But I respect the rivalry. Like I respect it more than I respect most things in life besides my family. And but like so like the Bears helped the Packers. I think that just adds to the rivalry because it's not like a hate. It's like a I wouldn't say a love hate, but it's like a respectful hate.
Yeah, there's respect there. It's the difference between the Packers and Bears hate each other, but they respect each other. The Packers and Vikings, that's just straight hate.
Yeah, no, I think the Vikings and any team is straight hate. It's not just a team. It goes from the horn to the fans because the fans. Not all the fans. I know a few good Viking fans, but like I know quite a few good Bear fans. I work with a Viking fan, and he's pretty cool. Other than that, I don't know. So let's get into this thing with Lombardi. So, how did Lombardi come to Green Bay? First of all, like that was one question I had because I had a few people messaging me and commenting this week talking about like what they want to hear about because I said you were coming back.
Yeah,
and a lot of people kind of know the story. Like he was with the Giants and he thought he was going to get hired there, but he ended up not. I think he got probably a little bitter and he was like, I'll go do my own thing. Or I'll let you tell since you know the actual story.
Yeah. So he was in New York and he was definitely in the running to get that job eventually because he was the offensive coordinator. And oddly enough, Tom Landry was the defensive coordinator at the time. So talk about like how epic can your coordinators be? And then Steve Owen came and was just a kid. I mean, he became a head coach at like 23 when Lombardi and Landry were in their 40s. And he was head coach, and it just was like, okay, he's going to be the guy now. So Lombardi kind of, like you said, got a little bitter and would basically take any job he could to then, become the head coach of, whatever team he went to, but also to beat the Giants. You know what I mean? And he and Green Bay was not a desirable job by any means. Like it was not a job that people would want to go to, but he thought it was his last chance to become like a head coach in the league. So he took it in 1959. And it was next year that Landry took the job in Dallas, 1960. So that kind of sets up their like epic, the Ice Bowl and all that. Like that history went way back.
So Paul Hornung was there before Lombardi, right? So because I Paul Hornung's my favorite player of all time. Like I read a few books on him as a kid. I don't remember a lot of the stuff because I did a lot of drinking since then. But I remember reading about Paul Hornung was gonna call it. He was just like, I don't need to play football because obviously they weren't making millions. He didn't have a Pat Mahomes contract. Right. So he was like, I'm done. I'm not gonna come here and lose. And then they hired Lombardi, and then I don't know if he convinced him how that went down, but like, how did that go down? Like, because is that right that Paul Hornung was going to retire and just say, screw it, I'll go do whatever work?
I don't know if he was going to just legitimately retire, but him and a lot of other players were just completely disinterested. They just completely gave up on their coach, and it was obvious because there were like when Lombardi got to Green Bay, there were like 6 future Hall of Famers already on the team. So I mean, this was a team that had talent. They just didn't like their coaches. Their coaches changed like almost every year in the in the 50s there. And it just kind of snowballed. When he showed up, he brought some legitimate, a legitimate strategy, and everyone that just kind of gave up the year before was like, all right, I'll play for this guy.
So that's what it was. He took over a team that wasn't winning, right? They were just
1958. They had the worst year in Packers history by far. They went 1-10-1. Just atrocious. And this was with Hall of Famers on the team. They were young, but still.
Yeah, so Lombardi comes in, whips him into shape. Dude, I got sound effects for Barty. Dude, first of all, I want to let everyone know, I got me a soundboard now, and let me see if I can get this to work here.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last. So
people who didn't hear my intro, first of all, I forgot to give you an applause. So let me shout out to Daniel. But anyways, I got a new soundboard. I'm going to use the thing. All right, I'm going to use it. But so back to that. So Lombardi, he just convinced everyone, I'm the real deal. We're going to go win. Like, who was all on the team? Like Ray Nitschke? Like who?
Yeah,
his first year.
Yeah, I'll kind of run you down like a timeline here. So we're 11 years before Lombardi got there. The Packers did not have a winning record for 11 years. So this was after Hudson retired. It was after the messy divorce with Lambeau. And in the 50s, there were a few good players on the team, like Bobby Dillon, safety. He's in the Hall of Fame now. Billy Houghton should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not. So those were guys that played in like the mid-50s. And then, Bart Starr was drafted in 1956 in the 17th round of the draft, which sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Let me back you up just a minute here, because maybe I don't know. Maybe a lot of people do, but I don't. There was a messy divorce with Curly Lambeau. Like, was he like shunned out of town? Like, what happened there?
He didn't want to give up any control at all, and he was facing pressure from the league to move the team to like the West Coast, a bigger market, and then the team was just in financial. They were in like financial hell. Like it was bad. The training facility had burned down. They had no money. And they, it just got to the point where people were like, no, there needs to be other voices here leading this team. And he was like, absolutely not. I am the Packers, and left town.
All right. So, I didn't really know that. Like, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but,
messy divorces in Packers history are kind of like a time-honored tradition now,
Yeah, I was just reading about Rodgers, and they were asking Mark Murphy, not to get off the topic or whatever, but they were asking Mark Murphy about why they didn't extend Rodgers, and is he long term, and they just said no comment. So that scares me a little bit. I don't buy, like, first of all, I'll just say this real quick, and then we'll get back to the history part of it. I don't buy like all the drama that you hear. A lot of times, no comment just means we're not going to get into that. It doesn't always mean that there's drama looming, and like the media, not all the media. I don't like to say in the media because it's not every single person, but a lot of people they want those stories. But we'll see, because a lot of times the guy, not Rodgers, like even on other teams, they'll hold out like there's no way they got such friction, they got such animosity toward each other, and then week one that player's out there and everything is good. Like there's a business side, and I'm sure they're handling it in house, and I don't know. I don't want Rodgers to go nowhere. But anyways, so back to this. Back to Lombardi. So he gets in there. Bart Starr's there. A big part of that group is there.
Yeah.
Like the first season, how'd they do? Because like I really honestly just don't know, or I don't remember, because I've had a few spotted cows here. But how did they do that first season? Like how did that unfold?
Yeah. So one of the things, they had almost all of their offensive linemen, or not offensive linemen, all of their offensive future Hall of Famers were on the team by the time he got there. So he had a pretty stacked, group of players to pull from. And then, the very first season, they went with 7-5. They won the first 3, and then they lost 5 games in a row. And you're a terrible team last year. You're a rookie head coach. You've lost 5 in a row. Most teams would probably fold in that moment. You'd be like, well, this is just not working. And then the Packers rattled off 4 straight wins and just kind of set everything in motion. It was like, okay, we can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that first year, I think a lot of times even that happens in current days when rookie coach doesn't do so well, then they catch a little fire and they start to believe in the process. So what year was that? Like I know you said it already.
Yeah, 1959.
1959.
His first game as a Packer, they beat the Bears. So that's all we need to know.
That's all we need to know. So when did like all the like iconic stuff? When did Lombardiisms become not that, but like when did it start becoming like Lombardi like was a legend and this team was like the real deal, and then just started ripping off championships?
Well, kind of the awesome part is he had all that before he started winning championships. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like when Rodgers was doing the championship belt before winning the championship. Like that's how gutsy he was, you know, to do that celebration. That's like Lombardi. He had his sayings, he had his routines, he had his he had the utmost confidence in the world, and he was never a head coach before. So they hit the ground running. That's the amazing part. Like it's not that winning turned him into a legend. It's that he was always a legend that just happened to start coaching and winning. You know, like he that's just who he was as a person.
Yeah. So like I've heard all these stories about like when they like the Super Bowl became a thing, you know, when they're like, all right, the Super Bowl, you can't lose this game. Like there was so much pressure because we're so much better than that. You want to give us like some insight at, because I don't know a lot except for like what I saw like on NFL films. So like how was it with the Packers like and those first Super Bowl years? Because obviously they won some championships before that first.
Yeah.
That.
So in 1960 was the first year that was his second season, and he took the Packers to the championship game in his second season. So I mean, they were legit from the beginning. They lost to Philly, and he made his famous vow. You've heard it. This will never happen again. We will never lose in a championship again. And that was the year 1960 that Paul Hornung just went out of his mind. He became the best player in the league by like an insane margin, doing literally everything. He was running, he was passing, catching, he was the kicker, he was the best blocker on the team. It was just absolutely incredible. And then he wins the MVP in 61, and in 62, Jim Taylor wins the MVP. So they go back to back in the backfield. And then they beat the Giants in 62. So now they've won 2 in a row after they beat the Giants both times actually, which is pretty awesome considering Lombardi wanted to stick it to the Giants.
Yeah, so he did exactly what he wanted to do.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And then 1963 hit, and Hornung gets busted for the gambling and has to sit out a year. And he took it like a champ. He didn't fight back, you know. But that was one of Lombardi's big things, is he wanted to accomplish the three-peat, and they had won 2 in a row, and now his best player, his favorite player by a wide margin, gets kicked out of the league for a year. So they end up finishing second, and then the following year they finish second, so they don't make the playoffs. And then 1965 was when they start the eventual three-peat, where he fulfills, you know, his greatest want. They end up beating the Browns, and then the following year, that's when the NFL and AFL decided to create the championship game, which became known as the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so like I always think it's funny because when people talk about Super Bowls, like they don't mention the Packers, they don't mention a lot of these teams, but like if they would just called the Super Bowl, you know, whatever, a few years, or even 1 year earlier, the Packers would have one more. But like, you know, if they'd have done it, whatever, 5-10 years earlier, a lot of teams would have different whatever. But so that Super Bowl one, like everyone watched it on NFL films. Everyone, you know, you cannot lose this game.
Yeah.
Like the NFL is superior. Like they basically just linked up with the AFL as far as they're concerned. Like before it folded, or like the XFL or whatever. Like
and I wouldn't even say it folded. Like that league, it was impressive how well.
I don't mean if I mean like the, you know how the NFL in our modern era used to have like whatever it was. It was not arena, but they remember like 10, 15 years ago, they had like,
they had NFL Europe too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. NFL Europe. So to them at that time, it was like NFL, the Packers, Lombardi, all these guys were playing like NFL Europe type of teams or XFL nowadays. So like they didn't respect them at all. And they were like,
yeah, they hated that league because they were stealing their best players.
Yeah.
The AFL was paying, a lot of the best players were getting drafted. Heisman Trophy winners were going straight to the AFL instead of the NFL.
Was there a pay difference like for the leagues, like when they were separate?
They were pretty similar, but the AFL wasn't afraid. Some of those owners, like Al Davis and things like that, they weren't afraid to throw money at players and outbid. And a player might get drafted by both leagues, and he's thinking, well, I don't know which one I'll play. And then the AFL money, he's like, see ya.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got like $1 more, especially in those days, because they weren't making life-changing money.
No.
Yeah. So they go to that first Super Bowl. So that team is just like iconic. It's like, was it the first Super Bowl that Max McGee was drunk still or hungover or whatever? Like,
yeah.
You got any good stories that we heard, maybe a little more detail, because I've heard some epic stories about those teams.
Yeah. So McGee, the real famous story that most people know is that, Bart Starr's getting up to get his morning coffee and his paper the morning of the Super Bowl in the hotel lobby, and in walks McGee from a night out drinking, hasn't slept yet because he's like, well, I'm the backup to Dowler, so I'm not going to play anyway. But who was out with him? Paul Hornung, of course.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about him. That is actually why he became like one of my favorite players, because he was so good and he got hammered all the time. And who doesn't respect that? And but dude, I like, as far as Max McGee goes, is like, I'm not going to play anyways. I'm just a backup. I kind of the same thing. Like I do a lot of different jobs, like where I work. So like sometimes I'll be like, I don't got to go to bed. I can stay up and drink a little bit because I'm doing an easier job tomorrow. Sometimes I'm doing physical work. Sometimes I'm not doing anything. I'm just walking around type of thing. So if I have an easier job, I'm like, dude, I can stay up. I get 5 hours sleep and get liquored up. I'll have a good time and still do it right at work. So I understand what he's thinking, but then he gets thrown in that game. And tell us about that.
Yeah, so he gets thrown in and he makes the I think it was on one of the very first plays. Boyd Dowler goes down with the shoulder injury, and he makes that really iconic. Like he's like reaching back and bobbles it, catches it in one arm, runs it in for the first receiving touchdown in Super Bowl history. It'll always be him.
Yeah, that was just an iconic play. I want to throw his comment down here because I think it's a good one. Instead of you read that.
Instead of buy Washington, do you think Bezos should just backroll his own league to compete with the NFL? Oh boy. All right. Withholding all of my negative thoughts on Jeff Bezos and Amazon, I'm going to say he should try to create his own league so then the NFL can crush it. That's what I would want.
All right. No, I appreciate that comment. So, yeah. So first of all, like one day I want to do a whole episode on Paul Hornung because I could just ask you about Paul Hornung, but I want to keep it going with the Lombardi years. But we're definitely, because Paul Hornung is my favorite player. And Fred Thurston, you follow him on Twitter. He does some podcast stuff, and is obviously Fuzzy Thurston's grandson. I had him on the show, and it's hearing about Fuzzy Thurston because like I used to go to the Fuzzy Thurston bar with my mom. She worked next to the bar. Like I think it was his original bar. Like he has a better one now, or he moved, I think maybe a few times, but that was like way back in the day. And my mom, I used to walk to her job, and like when she was done, so I'd walk her home. Sometimes we got a ride, whatever. But she used to go to the bar next door, and Fuzzy'd be there, and like the bar, like where he would sit, was like dented because he would just, those were tough times for the Packers. So he would just sit there and bang. Nicest guy in the world. Like obviously he had some medical issues like with his throat. But dude, it was cool. Like you could just walk in there and there's a classic Packer great. and you could just pictures on the wall of the playing days. Like, it was such a cool thing, and it was never busy because it was like during the day. You know, my mom wasn't in there getting liquored up. She'd go there, have a drink. I'd have a Pepsi, and then she'd either get a ride or I'd walk her home or whatever. But
nice.
That's what it's like living in Green Bay. You just go to see a legend over, and he's just hanging out. But
yeah, it's so unique.
It is. So that second Super Bowl. Walk us through that. Like, how'd that go down? Because was that the one where the dude parachuted in and no, I think that was
the first one. I think the second one was when they had those 50-foot tall robot things in the Packers jerseys at each other.
Yeah. So, but by this time, even Super Bowl, I think 2 was about the same. Lombardi becomes a legend. Let's just get back because everyone knows Lombardi's a legend. He left Green Bay though, and maybe I'm skipping a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe I shouldn't be. But what am I skipping? Let me know.
There's a little bit of story.
Let me let you talk.
Sure. So the first Super Bowl. What's the first Super Bowl? What's interesting about that is when we think about the Lombardi Packers, I think all of us we think back to Paul Hornung, Jim Taylor, Bart Starr. Those are just the names you think of. What's interesting about the first Super Bowl is Jim Taylor. He had the first rushing touchdown in Super Bowl history. Paul Hornung didn't even play in that game. He had a pinched nerve. They were winning in the fourth quarter and asked, "Hey, do you want to go in?" He just kind of shook his head and goes, "No, you don't need to put me in for charity." So they win, but it's kind of like a letdown. The Paul Hornung's his career's kind of coming to an end. The following season, when they're going to get Lombardi's three-peat and just really separate that team from all the other teams in NFL history before them, what a lot of people I don't think have internalized is that Jim Taylor and Paul Hornung were gone. They weren't on that team, the 1967 team that won the three-peat. So that backfield, all of a sudden, Starr was the only one left, and he had newer, younger guys that Donnie Anderson, Grabowski, and all that. But they won that last one without Hornung, without Taylor.
Well, you could say that second one was even more badass.
Oh yeah,
than the first one.
Oh yeah, way more mental toughness. They just won it by sheer will, and probably their defense should get a lot of credit there. Just because, the Lombardi era, we've been talking most about the offensive players, but it's really the defenders that made that team just as amazing as it was. But yeah.
So let's talk about, I know I'm jumping all over the place right here, but the Ice Bowl, the play. I was actually going to get the audio clip, but I don't know if I'd hit with copyright because that's part of NFL films.
True.
And it's a little lengthy. But so basically, Bart Starr walks over. I'm talking about the quarterback sneak, obviously. He walks over to Lombardi and what do you want to do here? He's like, I think I can get it in. And Lombardi's like, all right, go get your thing. And it's so casual. Everyone saw the clip.
Yeah.
And then you got Kramer with his hands up, and everyone was thinking that he was signaling touchdown. But I saw a clip where he said, no, I was trying to tell a ref I didn't push him in. Because back then, they actually called it when you push the guy. Yeah. In the NFL now, they don't call everyone, just smears everyone, it seems.
Yeah.
But, so talk about that.
Yeah, well, it was actually Kramer that got the wedge block. So he was down on the ground. It was the back behind Starr that put his arms up. I think it was Chuck Mercine. But he's the one that signaled that. And,
okay, so I was wrong. It happens.
But yeah, Starr went over to the sideline, and again, this is a story people know, but it's awesome. It's freezing cold. They could just try to kick the tie, and Starr says, "I think I can get it in." The backs can't grip the field. They keep falling, and Lombardi says, "Well, just run it, and we'll get the hell out of here." And and they didn't even have a quarterback sneak, so everyone else on the team thought it was a run to the back.
Okay, so it was just kind of on the whim. There wasn't. Yeah. Did teams have quarterback sneaks back then, or was that not a thing at the time?
I don't know. I think probably after that play they all did.
Yeah, because so let me ask this: is it true during the Ice Bowl someone died in the stands?
I don't know if that's legit or not.
Yeah, because I've always heard it because it was cold. Like, and it's funny because like you think about these old times and they're talking about like how cold was it? It was like 50 below or something. Was that with the wind chill?
Yeah, like with the wind chill, it was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, because like now that doesn't happen very often. Like everyone talks about the frozen tundra and all these things. I live here, and it gets like 30 below sometimes. But like I'm sure it does get 50 once in a while. But like don't go outside. That's sure ain't sitting outside, dude. I don't care, dude. It would take like a Packers Super Bowl at Lambeau Field for me to sit out in 50 below zero for 3 hours. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
It's cold. Like, yo, I got a pretty big TV. No, it's not crazy big. It's big. I could find someone with a 65-inch. I'm not sitting in 50 below zero. And they didn't even have like warm stuff on back then. They were like wearing suits.
Yeah. People were different back then. They were tougher or something. I don't know.
This is a good question, and I know it's probably like an easy answer, but let's talk about this. Were there any memorable tackles or plays in those first Super Bowls that would be totally illegal today's NFL rules? So let me just say I think it's a great topic to touch on. But like let's just talk about Ray Nitschke. Did he ever do anything that would be legal today? Would he even be allowed to play?
Rarely. Yeah, rarely. Some of the best like highlights that the NFL features from those first couple Super Bowls are like Ray Nitschke just straight up double arming guys in the face, and they just go flying, and everyone's just like, oh, it's a good form tackle. Yeah.
Dude, I remember seeing like Ray Nitschke would just pick guys up and like throw them on the ground. Like, dude, like, and it wasn't vicious back then because I remember I used to post a lot of videos of Packer plays, like Packer history, and Ray, like that's dirty. Like it wasn't then. That was football. Like, dude, they would just pick men up. If I can lift you, I'm gonna toss you. I'm gonna throw you on the ground.
Well, and there's one player too that you might not even expect. Almost every tackle that Herb Adderley made was he tackled guys by the head. That's just what he did. He's just like
they would just club them.
Yeah.
So, like, Steven says here that this is kind of what I was asking about. One elderly man died at the Ice Bowl from exposure. Like I don't know that as fact, but I've heard it everywhere, and I'm sure Steven. Yeah. But yeah, but like, and first of all, that's horrible. That's not something to like gloat about or be. That's horrible. But yeah, that's how cold it was. Though it's just insane. Like I can't imagine and they didn't have heat back then. They didn't have underground heat. They didn't have heaters. And maybe they did but I guarantee if they did,
they had very primitive heaters under the field.
It was like caveman stuff.
They either didn't work or were shut off. There's some little bit of controversy there, but they probably just didn't work. I mean, when it's that cold, what are you going to do? You know,
it's the 60s. They barely know how to make a TV. like nowadays, they got heaters and fans, and they're blowing like pretty much just a blowtorch shooting off. They get too close, they burn their face off. Right. But so that's just what it. Yeah. So after those Super Bowls ended, how long was Lombardi around after? Like, did he leave and then they started losing, or was he gone after that second Super Bowl?
After the second Super Bowl, to complete his three-peat, he stayed in Green. He was done as a coach at that point in time. He stayed in Green Bay as the general manager. For a year. Supposedly did not like it, obviously. And as most great Packers do, he went to a different team to finish his career. Just kind of a theme that it's always happens. It's probably going to happen in a year or two here with our beloved. So he
I will bleep you for that.
That's fair.
No, I know you're saying, and I just don't want to talk. I don't want to hear about it right
now. No, me either.
No, I kid.
Yeah, so then he went to Washington and was the general manager and coach again. And and he didn't have a losing season there. You know, he had a winning every year. He was a head coach.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, the history of the Packers, I don't think that there's any, because a lot of Packer fans like around the world, that's why that they like the Packers, and that's one reason why I always respected Mike McCarthy, is because he always talked about the history. And I think it's important. I think coaches should talk about the history. Yeah. Every player that plays in there, whether you're a practice squad or you're the Hall of Famer, like, you should know the history of the walls dude, because it's not like this stadium didn't relocate. They redid it, made it better. But like it's a lot of the same. Like I used to ride my bike up there when I was a kid. It looks a lot different now, but it's very much the same. Like you could just roll up on the you can walk up the steps. You can go a little too far and they'll tell you to leave. I've done that. But but like, yeah, the history of the Packers, what would you say is the second best history to the Packers? For me, I would say, well, there's a lot. Like you got the Browns, you got the Lions, I think the Bears. I think Arizona, but they didn't win much, but they were old. But so who's your number two as far as history in the NFL?
Well, at our site at PackersHistory.com, we have this recurring article that we update every year, and it ranks franchises by what we call greatness. And we use our own, proprietary weighted formula to come up with that answer. It has the Packers ranked number one. I'm sorry, what can I do about it? But number two is Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh yeah. I don't know how I forgot about them. So, what do you know about the Steelers? How old are they? First of all, they rocked the 70s, obviously.
Oh yeah, I believe they were. I mean, horrid until then. I believe they started in 1933. So yeah, I mean they're old. I think they broke into the league around the same time the Lions did. So
and the Lions, to show like Lion fans respect, because everyone talks about like championship. Like I always say, you cannot count the Packers. Excuse me. I got a cough button now, and it also works for a burp button. All right, but you can't count the Packers championships without counting everyone else's. The Bears have like 9, right? How many do the Lions have?
Oh boy, I think they have 3. I want to say.
Yeah, and the Vikings.
Oh, come on, Matt. They have 1 NFL championship, 0 world championships. So,
yeah. So first of all, let me ask you about that, Rook. I don't want to talk about the Vikings, first of all, but when did they get that 1 championship? Because a lot of people don't realize that they have one. They always say 0, and but they have one is like 60 something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was 69, and then they went and lost the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mark made a good point there. He's bringing up the Steagles. That was, I think it was during World War II when both the Steelers and the Eagles didn't have enough players because of the war. So they smooshed them together and created the Steagles.
Wow. That's really an interesting point. I did not know about that.
Yeah.
Mark's old. He knows stuff. Like, I was talking to a friend at work, which I just got to give a shout out to this. I was talking to my friend at work, Annette. And I said, I'm going to be talking about your high school team tonight. She said, what are you talking about? I said, we're going to talk about the 60s Packers. And that's your team when you were growing up.
Yeah.
She didn't like that because I was saying she's old, and she is. And I told her I was going to talk about it on the show, and now I am. And I'm gonna rip this off, and I'm gonna text it to her just so she knows I called her out as being old. Anyways, so yeah, there it is. And like, so that nothing happened until like the Favre, because like Bart Starr became the coach, didn't do well, right?
Well,
so how did that go? Like
he did the best. Oh, sorry. He did the best of all of the coaches in that time. I think he was the only one that hit the 50-win plateau. I mean, you got to look at what he was working with. But yeah, he did not have success. None of them did. But they all did worse than him, for what it's worth.
Yeah, so Bart Starr was just like a Green Bay god, I'm assuming. Like after all that went down, so they probably convinced him to be a coach. I don't think I don't know, but like, did they have to ask him twice, or was he?
Yeah, I think they. Yeah, I guess I don't know the exact how that all went down, but I don't think he set out to be a coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they were kind of grasping at anything. I mean, they did the same thing with Forrest Gregg. They're like, well, okay, how about another legend? You know what I mean?
Just keep trying. Yeah, because I was like, at the Packers, I think maybe that's why the Packers are the way they are now, always planning for the future, because we can't do another 80s. Because even in the 80s, and then, so let me ask you this. The Packers are sold out, like from now until like eternity, whatever it is, like 30, 40 years, and it's always growing.
Yeah.
So when did that start? When's the last time the Packers didn't sell out?
Yeah, you'll love this. So talk about Vince Lombardi's impact, right? The team was god-awful, the worst team in the league in the late 50s. He gets there. They have a winning record. But not only do they have a winning record, everyone believes in his vision. They can just sense it. He just has so much confidence.
Oh, yeah, and just like – I don't mean to cut you off, but like Lombardi, just when he talks, like there's certain people, like like Denzel Washington – not to compare Denzel Washington and Lombardi, they're totally opposite. But when Denzel Washington, to me, like when he talks and he's serious, not like in his movies, but when he is.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but it's the same. But there's certain people that when they talk, like Belichick's not that guy. And I actually like Belichick. But when he talks, it's just entertaining. Like, we're going to play the Bengals next week.
Mm-hmm.
But like when Lombardi talked, there's not a lot of people in the world, like you listen. Like Lombardi... Yeah. Like you can't duplicate it. To me, like there's no one else in the history, especially in sports, like Lombardi. Like when he talked, it was just like even if he was talking about something else, like he could be telling you how to fix your car, and I'm like, maybe I can do that. Like if he was alive today, he could be a YouTuber.
Oh yeah,
how to remodel your kitchen, and you'd be like, I can do that.
He was so big, and people just trusted him that even Nixon considered him as like a running mate at one point in time.
Yeah,
like,
I heard that.
How much of a giant he was. But then Nixon found out that he was a staunch liberal that was all inclusive on religion, sex, and race. So then he said, "Well, I don't want you." But there's that. Yeah, but no. To answer your question, his first year is 1959. 1960, game 1. 1960 is when it starts. So his second year in Green Bay is when the sellout streak started. It went through the glory years, of course. And one of the most amazing things, we actually just wrote this, me and my co-founder, we just put out a piece yesterday on the lean years, specifically the 70s and 80s. And one of the most amazing things is that the sellout streak didn't end. They didn't win a championship for 29 years, and the people still showed up every single game.
And that is the thing, is like the Packers were trash. I want to get to this comment though, because I think this is going from Steven. So a lot of players from the 60s said that when Lombardi would coach them, some of the coaching lessons that he gave would help them with their lives after football also. Yeah. So like, and everyone's seen like NFL films, like Jerry Kramer, a lot of these guys, like they get emotional talking about like he was just such a good speaker. But let
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to speak to Steven's point, like, not Steven's point, to speak to that, the Packers kind of helped the whole league become more racially integrated, of course. Like, not only did Lombardi have the bravery to bring in black players, he drafted many black players in the first round, linebackers, Dave Robinson, there had never been a starting black linebacker before. He brought in that inclusivity, but also he brought in Willie Davis and said, "Your captain." He went to Willie and said, "Your team captain, I need you to buy into this and to help." And Willie Davis being a black man in those days in Green Bay, that's a tough situation already. And now you're made team captain. So now all these mostly white fans are like, "Well, this guy's captain. What's going on here?" And Willie Davis actually had the responsibility of, like, when they get a new white player, he would take him to dinner, take him to lunch, talk to him. These guys that had never been on a team with black players before, it was up to Willie Davis.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
That's how epic of a player he was too. He's probably my favorite player from the era. I just got to get that in there.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories that Vince Lombardi was like ahead of the wave of.
Oh yeah.
He didn't care what color you were. He didn't.
He that time, gay players too.
Yeah. Like he was ahead of his time with going against all that and. But all right, so we went into the 80s then, or 70s, 80s, trash. We're not gonna go through the whole thing because this show would be really long. But then so they were basically trash until Don Mikowski is what I want to say. So who's your favorite player? Not the 60s. Oh, of all time, who's the guy that like as your childhood, like for me, it's Don Mikowski. Like I had the old 7 jersey, it was all beat up. My mom got a rummage sale somewhere. Didn't say a name on the back. It was just green. It could have been a Jets jersey. I don't even know. But it was a Don Mikowski jersey to me. Had my snowsuit on, but the jersey on over. I could barely move. We were out there tackling people in the snow. Who was your guy?
Man, there's a few. So if I go to my earliest memories, like if I can tap into that, I have to say Favre, obviously. Like every kid my age that liked the Packers. I mean, so I got to put him aside. It can't be him. That's too obvious.
How old are you?
31.
All right, so you're a little younger than me because I saw that Mikowski Favre. We didn't like Favre at first. We learned.
But this franchise will never ever learn. They're the fans of it because same thing with Favre and Rodgers. It might be the same thing with Love, and this is the same thing. We're just like, no, we don't want them. It's mind boggling.
Yeah, well, one night we didn't want him, but. Well, first of all, I was like 12 and I didn't know anything about football. I just knew 7 was my guy and Favre was stealing his job. The hell with that guy. They started slinging touchdowns. Like, all right, maybe he's okay. Well, let's see what he can do.
Yeah. My mainstream pick for my favorite would be Reggie White. As a little kid, I understood the gravity of who he was. Like, I didn't know much about football either. Like, you're just a kid, but you understood that Reggie White was different. So you're okay, this is a legend here. I need to respect this. But if you're going favorite players, for me, it was probably William Henderson and Antonio Freeman from my childhood. Those would be the 2.
Yeah, they'll definitely. I have a story about Reggie White. And Steven and Mark, I'm going to get to your comments here, but I have a story about Reggie White. Nice. All right. I went to Washington Middle School. All right. And this is, Green Bay. And Reggie White came to our school. And we had a principal, Mr. Washington. The school wasn't named after him. He was new. He just went to Washington. You're hired. No, but so he was from New York, and I think somehow he had a connection with Philadelphia, and he knew Reggie White, like as a person. And so he got Reggie White to come to the school and talk. And I was a troublemaker. I was loudmouth, like to talk. I wasn't like burning classrooms down or nothing, but I wasn't starting fires or stealing cars or nothing. But I had a little, little loose mouth, and I was pretty cocky. And they told me, they made me sit in a corner, like with all the trouble kids, and the teachers were like sitting like security guards, like at a jail. And they're like, "You guys don't talk." And I got like lippy, and I was talking while Reggie White was talking, and they pulled me out. And I never got to see Reggie White speak. And like as an adult, I didn't get to see Reggie White speak. He was given like a motivational type speech, like do good in school and this and that. And you can be whatever. And probably like, he was a preacher or whatever. So he was probably given, I'm not sure what they do in schools, but he was given like a motivational speech, like which I wish I remembered, but I got kicked out like 5 minutes in. And then the principal yelled at me, "Reggie White took his time to come here and you're making people laugh," because everyone's laughing at myself. Hey, I was pretty funny back in the day. That changed.
What happened?
Yeah, I didn't. I don't know what happened. It fell off from here. But I never got to see him talk. Dude, living in Green Bay, like you just run across Pack players. Usually not at school. I don't know if he ever came back. Maybe not because of me. I was heckling him. But I want to get to this comment from Steven. First of all, thanks for tuning in, Steven, and contributing to the show a little bit. Quick question. Best Packer defense ever, mid-60s or mid-90s? I think that's a great question. Talking about Reggie White. We were just talking about Ray Nitschke and all the boys. So for you, who is it? Because first of all, like I'll give mine, but like it's not informative. It's not like educational. It's just like a feeling.
Yeah. So for me, the 96 team was so special because they had the number 1 ranked offense and defense. So that's just really cool. I mean, just for a modern team to do that. Their defense, Leroy Butler, one of my favorite players all time. Also, Reggie, that defense was really anchored by those guys. There was a lot of other, role players. The defense in the 60s, you got to understand, had 2 Hall of Famers on the defensive line, 2 Hall of Famers in the linebacking core, and 2 Hall of Famers in the defensive backfield. They had 6 Hall of Famers. 6 Hall of Famers, 5 championships later. I know Dave Robinson wasn't on the first the first couple there, but it's just got to be the 60s. But I love both. The 96 teams, the last time the Packers really had a couple legends on a defense, unless you want to say, 2010, Woodson and, Collins and Matthews and all that.
I was going to say Woodson and Collins for sure were the last time you would say 2 legends. But, man, this spotted cow really gets you gassy a little bit. You know what I mean?
Good thing you got that bleep button, right?
Yeah, I got that bleep button. But for me, it's the 60s. But for me, I'll say this, because you said all the smart things, and which make a lot of sense, and things I couldn't repeat because I'm not that smart and educated and all those things. But I know that it's a fun question, but you can't compare 60s to the 90s, and not just the defense, but people always try to compare Aaron Rodgers to Bart Starr and Aaron Rodgers. You can barely compare Joe Montana to Aaron Rodgers or Brady or Breeze, because even the 80s, the league was so different. You definitely can't compare quarterbacks from the 60s to now, but even quarterbacks from the 80s to now. And now you add another week onto that. Oh. And the records are going to start breaking. And maybe that's what they want a little bit, is that, all these 5,000. Now, are we going to get a 6,000 yard quarterback at some point?
Yeah.
And the sack leaders, that's one reason I don't like the extra game. I don't mind. It's whatever. I'll watch an extra game, extra podcast I can do, an extra whatever. But a lot of records get broke: sacks, tackles, interceptions. There's an extra game for everything. Even though I think at the beginning, you say, they're probably gonna move to 18 at some point, but 17, a lot of those teams are gonna be sitting players that week 17. I mean, it all depends on how the playoffs. Obviously, it depends how things lock up. I try to envision it, what's it going to be? But are more teams going to be locked up by 17, by week 17 than normal at the end of the last season? Or I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it should probably function about the same, but who knows when they add that one random game. It's just for me personally, and I'm thinking about me and the co-founder at the site, when we're writing articles now, when you want to compare guys between eras, you're going to have to always just go by X per game, yards per game, touchdowns per game. You can't go by season anymore. You got to throw that out. And I think it just stinks that we kind of lose that heritage.
Yeah, I think so too. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Mark here. He said, I heard you have a signed card from the Magic Man. We were talking about that earlier. And Mark sent me a autographed Don Mikowski. He's one of my favorite players.
Sweet.
Definitely my favorite pre-Favre players. And I would never say Favre's my favorite player, because I always try not to have the top guy as my favorite. Even Aaron Rodgers, I would never say he's my favorite player. I love me some Aaron Rodgers. Love me some Brett. When Brett Favre played, I used to go to war with people. If someone disrespect Brett Favre, it was you disrespect my mom. I love Brett Favre. I don't as much anymore. I still like him a lot. Some things happen I'm not going to talk about, but he's I still like him a lot, and I root for him. I got his jersey. I'm not afraid to wear it. During game days, once in a while, they're on a Favre jersey. I got no hate for Favre, but I love Rodgers. But my favorite player, in the Super Bowl year, XLV, was Tom Crabtree. And there's dude, I have not an ounce of hate in Rodgers in me. I love me some Aaron Rodgers. I'll defend him to the death, and hopefully he doesn't leave. He's probably gonna at some point. And I'll deal with that when it comes. When people talk about that, I was like, dude, I'll deal with that when it happens.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback in 2021. Sure. That's all I need to worry about. I'm not going to stress about 2022. For all I know, I die this year, and then I don't even see it, and I don't got to stress about it now. Now, hopefully that don't happen. But no, but dude, I'm always for the underdog. Right now, my favorite guy is Preston Smith. He's my guy. Clinton Dix was my guy. Once you're my guy, you're my guy forever. It was Tom Crabtree, 2010-ish times. Clinton Dix. I'm sure there's a guy in between there somewhere. Preston Smith. But like I say, once you're my guy and I root for you forever. If they trade you, if you decide to leave, I don't care what situation. Once you're my guy, dude, you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
Like I'm a loyal ass fan. I'm loyal.
That's how I feel about MVS.
Oh no, hey, dude, I like MVS. I root for MVS so hard because he gets so much hate.
Yeah.
And like you see, he's trying, and like I get it. Like that's what it is. Like when you screw up, and people are gonna give it to you a little bit. I don't think he deserves to get it so as hard as he got it. Like the death threats and people saying these things.
Probably not.
No, not at all. No one deserves it. I don't care if you're the worst player in the world. You don't deserve that. It's a game. But like, yeah, dude, I like his motivation. Dude, my thing is like talking about MVS or any other player, whoever you want to talk about, who maybe struggled in games or situations, is that they wouldn't be on the team if the team didn't trust them.
Oh, yeah.
And like, so I'm at home on my couch, drinking a beer, watching the game, preparing. I'm going to do a live show after the game. Like, I don't know as much as the coaches. Like, I don't know as much as the cheerleaders, or they don't have cheerleaders, but you know what I mean? Right. I don't know as much as the camera guy or the camera girl or whoever's out there. like, I don't know. Like, if you're not there, like, you don't know. They know what he's doing in practice. They know all the players. Same thing with Jordan Love. People talking about, like, what he's doing. He hasn't touched the field. Well, the coaches see him. He ain't sitting at home on the couch and just waiting. Like, he's practicing. So, like, the coaches, his teammates, they know what MVS is doing. He's catching the balls in practice. He doesn't have the biggest drops in the world. Like, he has some drops and he needs to fix that. And he knows that. Doesn't need some podcaster to tell him that. But like, he doesn't have like the biggest drop percentage of all like
Well, I think I lost you there.
Did I just lose?
Yeah, I heard you now.
All right. But yeah, so yeah. MVS, like, I can go on about MVS because I really do like MVS. Rooting from a Lazard, like, dude, I love like the guys who weren't supposed to be. Like Donald Driver wasn't supposed to be Donald Driver.
That's
like,
a perfect.
I just love them.
Yeah.
I just love. Anyways, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Hey, I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the show. All right, I'm gonna figure out how to do this right here. Look at this. Oh, hang on. No, I can't do that. Oh no, right here. That's button. All right, I didn't want to talk to you. So starting this week, I'm gonna do a live show every day, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days a week at 7:00. I'm gonna go live. We're gonna have some guests, maybe take some calls. I'm figuring this stuff out. You know, I got I got buttons to push. I don't know how to make that stop. But no, I'm working on this stuff. So we're gonna do a show tomorrow night, Thursday night, and the next week, Monday, I'll be live again. We're gonna have some fun, people. All right. Maybe have Daniel come back and not even just talk history, but oh, hang on. How do I do this? All right. Oh, no, you're back. All right. Dude, I gotta learn. I gotta get better at this. But we got some fun stuff coming, people. Not even just talking history, but just breaking down the Packers, talking about some fun stuff. Because I actually want to have Daniel come back. We'll talk about some, maybe even just some games from the 90s, the Super Bowl or whatever, certain players. I want to talk about Paul Horning at some point, but also stay relevant to like the current times.
Yeah.
That's why having a show every day, and I'll have different guests on, probably guys I had on before, maybe bring some new people in, but let's just rock this thing. All right. Do it. Yeah. Let's go, Mark, every day. I can't do every day. So here's what I'm thinking. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, Friday, I usually get drunk. All right. So I'm not going to interrupt that. Friday's my drinking day. I drink with my wife that day, so I'm not going to interrupt that. You know what I mean? Let me get a cough. I got a cough button now, people.
You're getting better at
yeah, so now I got a censor button. Let me check this out one time. All right, Dan, you all right? Don't be such a dumb dude. I love this thing. Anyways, no, we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna have a good time. People, we're gonna talk about current stuff. We're gonna talk, dude. Like, there's a lot going on. Adding an extra game of the season. The off season. There is no off season like in the NFL.
Yep.
And we're gonna have some fun with this stuff. Shout out to Quick Trip sponsoring the show. Shout out to Danielle stopping by. I got some new merch dropping soon. A whole new website. It's gonna be really good.
Sweet.
And shout out to Quick Trip. Quick Trip. It's more than a gas station. It's a way of life, people. Thanks for tuning in. Go Pack Go. Shout out to PackersHistory.com. So go over and check out, like, if you seriously want to know like some Packers history, go, I got a thing right here. Go to packershistory.com. He has a whole website dedicated to it, or like message him on Instagram, Twitter. He's got a Facebook page. I'm sure he'd love to educate you on anything that you want to know. He does a great job. He's a very knowledgeable person. I truly appreciate you stopping by, and let's give him applause. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I forgot to give you applause when you first came in. The mixture's new to me. I'm loving this thing. See you guys tomorrow night, as they say at Quick Trip. See you next time.